Hi everybody. Uh-oh, why is this crooked? Sorry I was a little late. I wanted to make sure I did this in the right place today because Saturday nights I actually accidentally did it on my, why is this crooked? I accidentally did it on my personal page, personal account. So I wanted to make sure I was here doing it right for you. This is annoying me. Hang on, let me try to see if I can get this to not be crooked. Technology, not liking me today, are we? All right, so I am here today, Wednesday, a few minutes after 10 a.m. I apologize, it's already like 10:05. I just spent a few minutes trying to get this tripod thing set up. It's my new thing. Wasn't working so well, so I apologize. I'm a few minutes late. I am here to go through the Monday question thread. This week's question thread was ask your questions about nursing and bottles in the night. For those of you who are new to the group, because we do have a lot of new people, every Monday we post a question thread with a certain theme. And on Wednesdays, I come through and answer all the questions, or as many as I can get to. Now, what I'm going to do is, I wasn't able to post the link just because I was in a rush. As soon as I am done here today, I am offering a sneak peek into the Rested Moms Club, which I know a lot of you have been entering the contest and inviting friends this week to win those 3 spots, but today's a sneak peek that you can actually check out the entire interactive workbook that I use that coincides with my entire system that I use. So as soon as this is done, I'm going to put the link above so you can check it out. It's only a sneak peek for 24 hours. I am taking it down tonight at midnight. If I'm still awake. No, I'm just kidding. I will be. But I'm taking it down tonight because, like I said, it's really, I just want to throw it out there and show it to you. But it's really only going to be for the people who are actually part of the Rested Moms Club. So as soon as I am done with this question answer session going through all of yours, I'm going to post the link there. You definitely want to check it out because, like I said, you only have a little bit of time until it goes down. So I'm going to start going through all the questions. Hi, Aubrey. How you doing? All right. I will definitely try to get to your question then because you are here, my love. Let's just go through. I was in a rush, so I usually try to open them all first. I'm going to start going through. I have about 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll just get as many down as we can. All right. Now, remember, as always, there is some sanity to my madness. As you know by now, if you've been watching these weekly videos, the reason I pick a theme is because after answering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 questions or more, you start seeing me saying the same answer. And then again, even if you didn't necessarily answer a question or ask a question, you still have some insight and you understand the concept behind it, which is what this is all about, right? We're all here to help one another and get some sleep. So, Deanna, your little one still eats twice at night. I'm pretty sure it's mostly out of habit than actually being hungry. I know she can go longer than 4 hours as she's given me a few 6-hour stretches. I don't mind one feeding, but how do I get rid of the other one? She's bottle fed and 8 months old. Okay, Deanna, this is an awesome question. How to know when your baby is waking up in the middle of the night out of habit, just because their body's used to it? Or how do you know when your baby's waking up at night because they're avidly hungry? None of us want our babies to be hungry, ever. Hunger is painful for a baby, and we never want them to experience that. As mothers, as parents, our job is to make sure we take care of our children. That's why we're there for them. So I've said this before, so I apologize if you've heard me, but it is so important for the new people here or anyone who hasn't heard me say this. Habit and hunger, at the end of the day, can end up being the same thing. What do I mean? If a baby's body is constantly being fed twice a night, 3 times a night, at set times, their body actually gets acclimated to eating at those times, and what was once a habit turns into a real hunger. I eat lunch every single day at 12 p.m. Does that mean that 12 p.m. is like the universal lunchtime? No, it just means I have trained my body because I eat lunch every day at 12. I am hungry every day at 12. If you and I would wake up every night, and I always use this example, but it's true. If you and I would wake up every night and set an alarm at 3 a.m. and make ourselves a tuna sandwich, after doing this for 3, 4, 5 nights, guess what would happen? We would actually wake up hungry at 3 a.m. So at this stage in the game, it's almost irrelevant. Is it habit? Is it hunger? Because oftentimes, it's the same thing at the end of the day. The habit turns into the real active hunger. So what we have to do is treat it as hunger, because I never, ever want a baby to be hungry. We always err on the side of caution. Better to go a little gentler, a little slower, and make sure we help your baby's body acclimate slowly than pushing them to do something before they're ready. So Deanna, is it habit, is it hunger? I don't know, but we're gonna treat it like hunger. We're gonna talk about how to actually get your baby used to lasting longer stretches gently, because we don't want to push them to do something before they're ready, because that could A, result in them actually being hungry, or B, totally skyrocket negatively downward when they're going to be even more hungry, okay? So on the same note, actually, we'll just answer here. Megan, I'd like to ask the same question. Your baby is 12 weeks old. Congrats, that's a new one. Not sure if she's too hungry to try to drop her feeding. I've gotten 6, 7, and one time 8-hour stretch. That is awesome for a 12-week-old to get an 8-hour stretch of sleep, okay? But usually around 4 or 5 for the first stretch and then 3 hours. Sometimes she scarfs down a bottle. Other times she isn't hungry and won't even finish it. So newborns, Megan, are a little bit different. I'm going to tell you why. An 8-month-old, like I was just telling Deanna, an 8-month-old usually, okay, using a grain of salt, giving you averages, take everything I say with using your judgment, because there's no blanket statement. Our babies are not statistics. But that being said, most 8-month-old babies can go a good 7 to 9 hour chunk at night, okay? But a 12-week-old baby can't necessarily. Most 12-week-old babies, that's for a 12, that's the 3-month-old, usually needs to eat twice in the night, most typically, because their body's digesting food a lot faster. They can't necessarily, keep it in their systems as longer. But getting a consistent 7-8 hour chunk is definitely realistic if you see that your baby has already done it. So your question is, what I would suggest to do for both of you, Deanna and Megan, pick set times to feed your babies, okay? And this is going to go across the board for all of your questions, but I'm going to keep reiterating it, okay? Pick set times to feed your babies. Deanna with your 8-month-old, or Megan with your 12-week-old. If you know your 12-week-old can considerably go 3 or 4 hours during the day, then it's safe to say that she can also go 3 or 4 hours during the night. If your baby can go 3 or 4 hours during the day, why are you suddenly nursing her or giving her a bottle every hour? Just because you're tired, because you're not thinking about what we're doing in the middle of the night. And again, the more you feed them, the more hungry they get, the more acclimated their body gets to it, and the habit turns into the hunger. So try to set times in the middle of the night that you feel comfortable feeding your babies. And don't go away from that just for a good 3-4 nights to make sure their bodies get used to it, but you're not necessarily giving it more. So with your 8-month-old Deanna, she can go a 6-hour stretch. So keep that 6-hour stretch and comfortably let her body get to the place where she's consistently eating at the times that you've allotted. No more. You're not going to suddenly say, sorry, honey, you're going 12 hours because I think you can do it. No. But pick those set times and slowly, we'll talk about how to space those out. Allie, this is so true. I'm a night nurse and I have to snack before bed or else I wake up starving at 4 a.m. Exactly. Our bodies get used to it. Okay. Oh, hi, Lauren. I'm so happy. Okay. We're going to try to go through yours and Aubrey's and everyone's questions here that are here. So Shelly, same. And you see, we're asking the same questions because this is all the same baseline. How do I know my baby's really hungry? How do I get their bodies used to lasting longer? I want to be fair. I don't want to leave them to be screaming or crying when, their body is not in a good place. How do we do this? Shelly, my little one will be 6 months old in February. She goes down for the night around 7:30, most times without a fight, but wakes up every 3 hours for a feeding bottle. Last night she woke up at 10:30. I gave her a pacifier. She went back to sleep, but then was up again at 3 and 6. You feel like it's more out of habit than hunger, which can happen. It takes time for habit to become real hunger. So if you can nip it in the bud before it becomes a real hunger, before my body gets used to eating lunch every day at 12 p.m., try to do that, because once it's hunger, we do have to be more careful. So if you know it's habit, catching it before it's actual hunger will help, okay? I wouldn't mind waking up once at night. How do you get her to sleep longer than 3-hour stretches? Okay, and that's really why all of you are here, right? Yeah, it's fine. You want to take care of your babies. You want them to be hungry, but you want to sleep, right? You want your babies to sleep long stretches at night. So what does that mean? What do I recommend doing? So for you, my dear, what I think you should do is the same thing I told everyone else. Right now, Shelly, little baby, who's almost 6 months, wakes up every 3 hours at night. If your baby can last every 3-4 hours during the day, then you see your baby can last 3-4 hours during the night. Pick set times to feed your baby. This is going to go for all of you. Anyone watching? Allie, Lauren, Aubrey. Okay, I'm going to go through your questions. But pick set times. 7:30 bedtime, 10:30 is the next time you're feeding. Then 1:30. Then 4:30, then the morning. Might seem like a lot, but you pick those set times. And I even recommend writing them down on a note card and putting them on top of your alarm clock and looking at those times, 7:30, 10:30, 1:30, 4:30, whatever it is, and seeing just those times on your alarm clock. So that way, before you even see what time it is, you're able to check those times, because sometimes in the middle of the night, it's like a really complicated, algebra problem. how long you're trying to feed your baby. The space is 5 minus 3 divided by 7, and the square root, it's 10:30, and it's just like too complicated in your half asleep state, so make it easy. Just write those times down on a note card, put them over your alarm clock, so you say, oh, okay, so I fed at 10:30, now it's okay at 1:30. All right, then what I want you to do is do that for a good 3-4 nights. Then start spacing it out a little more. 10:30 turns into 11. 1:30 turns into 2:15. 4:30 turns into 5. So the 3-hour spans become 3.5 hours. A few more nights, those 3.5 hours become 4 hours. You get the picture till eventually you confidently know. That's what it's about, confidently knowing your baby can go 7 hours straight. Okay? 6 hours straight, whatever you feel is realistic and what your goal is. Aubrey, what if the baby sleeps longer past the second time? Oh, do not wake her up. Do not wake your baby up, my dear. That just means that if she wakes up past that time, you know you're good to go to feed her, especially when you're adjusting her and adapting her body. If you feed her at 10:30, she sleeps through the 1:30 and suddenly wakes up at 5, awesome. But that doesn't mean that you just skip the 1:30, because it's about acclimating their body to lasting longer. And if you just suddenly go, sorry, we'll go 6 hours because you missed your time, that's fine. Sorry, Batya, I was out running errands, so I missed my 12 o'clock lunch. I guess I have to wait till dinner. No way, because I'm starving when I get home at 12:30 and I missed my normal time. So it's the same thing here. That's a good question, Aubrey, okay? I'm having to hold this up with my hand, by the way. This is a really bad tripod. Okay. Leia Trachtenberg, okay. I still nurse my 7-month-old during the night, feed her at 7 before bed, dream feed her at 10, 11. Dream feeding is a little controversial, but we'll go with it. We're going to talk about that because that's an important aspect, okay? And then usually 3 and 6. I'm so exhausted. So you feed before bed, 10 or 11, and 3 and 6. I'm so exhausted. Uh-oh, what did I do? Hang on. Okay. I'm so exhausted, and I say this every morning that I don't have the heart to actually do it. Can I continue the 7 and 10 and just cut out the others at 7? She's petite, but the doctor said her night feeds won't make a difference. I'm losing my mind. Okay. First of all, don't lose your mind. We are all here together to help you. Definitely post your questions. But if your baby is 7 months old, eating well during the day, getting sufficient nursing in bottles. At 7 months, I'd like to see a little bit of solids happening, even if it's not consistently breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would at least like to see one meal tasters being introduced, because it does help, okay? It's a myth that a solid-fed baby, should always sleep through the night no matter what, because there's a lot of dependencies, a lot of other things if you've watched my videos and you know what's going on. But the more calories you can introduce during the day, the less calories baby needs at night. Just like sleep is a 24-hour cycle, calories also are. So the goal is to have the most, content and concentration of calories during the day, so that way your baby doesn't have to eat a lot at night. A lot of times I'll work with a family when they do my one-on-ones, or they'll work in my sleep groups, and we'll see their baby's up nursing all night and has no appetite during the day. Why is that happening? I'll tell you exactly why it's happening. Because your baby is eating all night and isn't hungry during the day. So that's what we want to talk about, okay? So, Leia, to answer your question, I went in a roundabout way. I would do it gradually. Don't suddenly get rid of the 3 and the 6. If you do the 7, and remind me if I forget to talk about this dream feed at the end, okay? But if you feed your baby before she goes to bed at 7, do the dream feed at 10, don't just suddenly skip the 3. Turn the 3 into 3:30, and then turn the 3:30 into 4:30, and slowly phase it out. And then you can get rid of it, because like I said, if your baby's waking up every night at 3 and every night at 6, that means it's real habit hunger, like my 12 o'clock lunch. Your baby's internal clock is set to be hungry at those times. Shelly, I'd love to space out and make longer stretches, but she wakes like 3 hours on the dot. How do I get her to sleep 3.5 hours before waking, then 4? Let her fuss. I have a 2-year-old who is a light sleeper, so I find myself rushing to her room so she doesn't wake her brother. Okay, this is also another common problem people have, the fear of waking up a sibling, because we all know the only thing worse than being up with one baby is being up with like 2, 3, 4 kids, whatever your story is. So first, set yourself up technically, Shelly. It doesn't have to be an expensive $500 white noise machine. Go to the hardware store, buy a $10 loud, one of those big square fans you put on the floor, and stick it in your son's room. And I know it's winter, so put it against the wall. The purpose of the fan is to make noise. Put another one in the hallway. Put another one in the baby's room. So that way you don't feel like you have to rush to your baby the second she wakes up, because that's just developing an anxiety, and at the end of the day, reinforcing her sleep dependency and her behavior. So what I would say to do, you have a white noise for both babies. Okay, good. So also, I will tell you, children are a lot more adaptable than we give them credit for. And if we constantly have quiet, unplug the phones, tiptoe around, we teach our children to sleep through quiet only and not be able to sleep through noise. But if there's a little crying, a little here, don't be so nervous. Your son will learn to sleep through it. But to answer your actual question, that was a side point, what to do before they wake up. Okay, I didn't talk about that. I'm glad you picked up on that. I told you to start spacing it out, but what happens if, like Shelly's baby, wakes up every 3 hours and we're trying to space it to 3.5? What do you do between the 3-hour time when they're waking up and they're hungry to the 3.5 when we're spacing it? Anything. You can hold, you can rock, you can bounce, you can shake, you can pacifier, you can this. I would try to have a little less involvement, especially for babies nursing, because if you're holding your baby against your body, my goodness, that's a tease, right? Like they're right there. So I would try to have like a little bit, no, you're not jumping ahead, don't worry. I would try to have a little bit less involvement, keeping your baby in your crib and trying to have you comfort them instead of them coming to you, but use anything possible to help them, okay? You can pat, you can bounce, you can rock. Someone's at my door, but I'm not gonna answer. Do whatever you can to help soothe your baby without giving into the feeding, because if you do, then that defeats the purpose of trying to space it out, right? Okay, oh my gosh, hang on. Where did this just go? Okay. I'm using a new computer today, guys. That's why I'm having so many issues. I'm sorry. All right, Deanna, again, same here. I have to drag myself out of bed. Okay, this sleep deprivation, we're stopping here, okay? Especially if you check out the sneak peek to the Rested Moms Club. Just throwing that in there because it's awesome. But Deanna, we answered your question. Space it out. Get your baby's body used to it. Leslie, same here. My 5.5-month-old goes down at 7:30 and wakes to nurse every 3 hours, no matter how hard I have tried. We try to give him enough calories during the day. Any thoughts? Yes, he's getting enough calories during the day. And he's also getting tons of calories in the night, like we just talked about, right, Leslie? Try to go from 3 hours to 3.5 hours, 3-4 nights. Then bump it up to 4 hours. The people are still outside. Why are they not leaving? I'm not answering the door. Then every 3-4 nights, bump it to 4.5, and slowly get your baby used to it and what to do in between, like Shelly asked, and it wasn't jumping ahead, Shelly. It's an awesome question. I was going to get to it. Use other means to settle your baby, because the temporary goal is just to get your baby's body used to sleeping longer, not being so hungry. Once you have that nipped in the bud, then you can use a sleep training or whatever method you feel comfortable with, and we'll talk about this, and I talk about it in my Rested Moms Club, my method that is gentle without a scream-a-thon, but you can't move there without first making sure you're working with your baby's body. There's a lot of replies to this one. Hang on. Lauren. Okay. Lauren, you are here. I think I saw your name. My 7-month-old has just about the same schedule. He used to be a good sleeper and was only getting up once, and now screams at 10 and 3 and 6. His naps are good during the day, 2 to 3-hour naps, 2 to 3-hour naps, okay, and falls asleep great on his own around 7. The other times he wakes up and hardly nurses and passes out, but the second you lay him down, he's screaming again. Lauren, you have a different situation, all right? Now, not necessarily some of you might fall under this. Now, what I'm picking up on, Lauren, you're not saying your baby's nursing for a long time, or you're giving him like 7 8-ounce bottles that he's so ravenous. You have basically, if you're nursing, is that what you said? Yes, you have become a human pacifier. I hate to break it to you, okay? Your baby is dependent. Now, in such a case where a baby's waking up totally and sucking for a minute and going back to sleep, anyone can tell you that's not hunger. I'm talking about the people who weren't sure if it's habit or hunger. That was that whole spacing out. In your case, though, Lauren, sounds like your baby is just totally taking you for a ride, and he has you wrapped around his cute, yummy, delicious finger. He knows when I cry, Mommy comes in and nurses me, and it is awesome. So, of course, I'm going to keep doing it because he's learning cause and effect. I cry, I get nursed. I cry, I do this. He's on a great schedule during the day, and he falls asleep on his own at bedtime. That is amazing. You only have to work on teaching him how not to fall asleep on his own, how to independently fall back asleep. So what I would tell you to do, Lauren, watch the night wake-ups video when we talked about getting rid of sleep dependencies. Keep him in his crib, pat his back, talk to him, sing him, do anything other than the sleep dependency he wants, which is nursing. And every few days, you lessen the amount that you are helping him. Uh-oh, my connection is weak. I hope we don't just get disconnected. Lessen the amount you are helping him so he can get better at doing it on his own. Because in your case, Lauren, he's not hungry. You know he's not hungry. He's sucking for 5 seconds and falling back asleep. My goodness, that's not hunger. That's a dependency. So I want you to keep aware of that. And anyone who asked other questions, that spacing it out was only if you're completely sure that it's hunger. You're not, spacing it out, sorry, is only when you're not sure. Is it habit? Is it hunger? In Lauren's case, she knows it's not hunger. So that's what I tell her to do. Okay. Crystal. Essentially the same question. Are we starting to see a pattern here, ladies? We are, right? Okay. The same question, your daughter's almost 5 months, has slept a few 5-6 hour stretches, but usually wakes up every 2 to 3 hours to nurse. Have tried for weeks to drop a feed by patting and rocking, but it leads to crying, so you end up nursing her. So Crystal, that's why you want to pick realistic times. I'm not telling you to suddenly go from every 2 hours to suddenly 7, because of course you're going to give in, because my goodness, my baby's hungry. How do I do this? Do it gradually, Crystal. If your baby wakes up every 2 hours, make a realistic goal, 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes for 3-4 nights. The goal is that you, every few nights, shift it so your baby has enough time to adapt, but you also keep shifting it so that you're making headway. But you have to do it within your comfort zone, because if you suddenly go, okay, I hear what Batya said, but I want to expedite the process. I'm going to go from 2 hours to 8. You're not going to stick with it. You're not going to let your baby cry and be hungry for 6 hours when you normally feed them every 2. So it's a balance of knowing what your baby's needs are, but also knowing what your needs are as a mother, because you have to do what you're comfortable with to make sure, A, you're comfortable with it. You're the mommy. You're in charge of what you feel is right, but also to make sure you stick with whatever game plan you make. Lauren, would it help more if dad went in? Yes, that is an excellent idea, because Lauren, your baby knows as much as daddy tries, can't nurse. Can't nurse your baby. Even if you try so hard, it's not going to happen. So you could definitely do that. In some cases, usually babies, and of course if you're nursing, your baby associates you, Lauren, with comfort. Your baby might get really upset if dad is there, might like it. Definitely worth a shot. Aubrey, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Aubrey or Aubrey? I'm assuming Aubrey. Do you feel we shouldn't pick up how long to let cry while soothing? That's a good question. I'm going to tell you something. When I work with my families, and they work through my groups and the one-on-one and everything, and even in this Rested Moms Club, there's different there's different phases that you move through. So the ultimate goal is that you start with something you're completely comfortable with. It could mean holding. It could mean not holding. It could mean not picking up. It could mean whatever you're comfortable with, as long as the ultimate goal is that you are lessening your intervention. You are slowly phasing yourself out of the picture. So it could start with full holding, and then the next phase could be in the crib with full touch, and then it could be, talking less, whatever you feel is comfortable. But the ultimate goal, and when I move people through my programs and in this Rested Moms Club, when you'll see the sneak peek, because you have to check it out, okay? It's also really pretty. My graphic designer made it look really nice. You'll see that it's really critical every few nights to phase yourself out, because otherwise you get stuck, and then suddenly you have a sleep dependency. Great, my baby's not nursing every 2 hours, but now I'm stuck in there holding her. You know what I'm saying? All right, so good question here. Rivka, let's make it bigger. You're 14-month-old. Sorry, it's a little long. Let's scroll down. And I like long. It's okay. Just got to scroll down. All right, my 14-month-old nurses multiple times at night, usually every 2 hours. That is a lot. That's a lot for a newborn. That's a lot for an 8-month-old. That's a lot for a 14-month-old, my dear. Okay. I'm happy with this method, and I used to put her down for naps at night asleep. Naps, I just put her down in the swing. At bedtime, let's see what your question is. Many times she wakes up 1 hour after nursing. Some sleep, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to stop or even make a difference. The night wakings. Okay, I just skimmed through this because it's long. I want to read the whole thing, but I don't want to make everyone listen to the whole thing. But it sounds like you have a few different multiple issues going on here. She goes to sleep nicely if you walk out. So you don't want to change how you put her to sleep, because that works. What do I always tell you all? If it's not broken, don't fix it, okay? She goes to sleep nicely, awesome. Don't change that. Sounds like the issue is when she wakes up, the only way to calm her down is when you bring her into your bed. She has eczema, which you sometimes blame for waking up at night. So of course, she's uncomfortable. You have to be fair to that, but you're ready to stop. All right, so you have a few different things going on. She goes to sleep nicely, just like I told someone else a few minutes ago. That's awesome if your baby goes to sleep nicely, but the trick is to teach them to go back to sleep nicely in the middle of the night. So first of all, if your baby has eczema, of course she's uncomfortable. You got to make her comfortable. Lotion her up, do everything. But I want to tell you, it's not suddenly between 6:59 that she's comfortable and feeling happy and amazing, and suddenly 7 p.m. when you put her down, she's in excruciating pain. Okay, I know she goes down nicely at bedtime. I'm just using that as an example. It's not that she just goes to sleep nicely, and every single night, coincidentally, 1 hour after she wakes up, her skin is killing her and it's so itchy. It's a sleep dependency. So yes, you have to be more mindful when a baby has a physical ailment, like they're not feeling well, or of course if she has, chronic eczema. But if every single night on the dot she wakes up after an hour, there's not something in her body that says an hour after I go to sleep, my body itches more. Okay, so it's a sleep dependency. And you bring her into your bed, that's a sleep dependency. She wants to be in your bed. I would tell you to do the same thing I told everyone else. Gradually acclimate her to lasting longer. Again, that's only if you think it's avid hunger. If you don't, then you can go full force to get rid of it. Only you can make that decision. But you want to slowly start off by picking a time you're comfortable with and every 3-4 nights phasing out. Don't bring her into your bed because that's a tease. In your bed with you, Rivka, pressed up right against your body. Hello, of course she's going to want a nurse, okay? So do what you can to space it out and make it better. Deanna, my 7-week-old won't sleep unless we are holding her. At what point do we move from doing what we need to in order for her to sleep to worrying about setting ourselves up for future problems? This is a good question. And you've heard me talk about this in all my videos, and even in the Rested Moms Club I talk about it. Doesn't matter if you have a 7-week-old or a 7-year-old at the end of the day. Before teaching them how to sleep, you gotta make sure their internal clock is set up, right? I always say that, and that's the step everyone misses. They go straight to sleep training, straight to leaving their babies to scream it out or using something else, but they're skipping that place of, setting up the internal clock so things are really in a good place. So Deanna, I would say 7 weeks, you still have a very little baby. I would wait for sure till 8, 9, 10 weeks, till your baby is closing the 2.5 month mark. At that point, once you have a solid routine set up, then you could move into working on teaching your baby how to sleep better on her own, or his own, her own. Just because, like I said, she's so little. The key component with newborns, I know this isn't a newborn thread. We have a newborn Q&A coming up soon. But the key component with newborns is just that routine. If you can nail it, I'm telling you, everything else is going to be smooth sailing, okay? Now, Brianna, moving right along. 10 months old. Basically the same as everyone else. Feeds from habit, and you don't know how to wean the bottle when big brother gets woken up from crying. Okay, so like we just told someone else, set yourself up technically. So, sorry, this thing is like moving all over the place. Set yourself up technically so you know that your baby's not going to wake up your older child, because then you're just going to be anxious, nervous, anxiety-ridden, run to your baby faster, give in, nurse, give a bottle, do whatever, just for the fear that you're going to wake up the older child. So, white noise, fans, 2 fans, 3 fans, 1 in each bedroom, 1 in the hallway, close the doors, whatever you can do. And again, this isn't a long-term solution that your kids are going to learn to sleep through silence, but at least setting up the most conducive sleep environment possible while you're executing it is going to help, all right? So what I want you to do, Brianna, that was Brianna, wasn't it? Yes. No, that wasn't Brianna. Gets woken. Yeah, that was you. Brianna, I want you to do the same thing here. Pick set times and don't give in. You got to stay strong here, and that's why I'm telling you to pick times you feel comfortable with and slowly phase those times to be longer and later and more spaced out, because the more you do it, the better it's going to work. And you have to pick a method that you feel comfortable with, like I think that was Lauren who asked, or Aubrey asked, do we pick up, do we leave them in the crib? The key component is to do what you're comfortable with, but that you slowly, progressively phase yourself out of the picture. And I talk about this in the Rested Moms Club workbook, so definitely check out the sneak peek soon, because you'll see my exact steps and my system there, only up till midnight tonight, because we are taking it away. Roxa, same question. 17-month-old son doesn't want to sleep in his crib. 17-month-old, my dear Roxa, I'm going to assume your 17-month-old is eating properly and getting enough calories and healthy and blah, 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 and gaining weight. Your 17-month-old can go 11, 12 hours, my dear. There is no reason for a healthy, thriving 17-month-old, and I'm putting a disclaimer on there. I've worked with 16, 17, 18-month-olds that have severe developmental delays, or they do have certain like low muscle tone, or even they're autistic, or they suffer different things. Another story. I'm saying normal across the board, healthy 17-month-old gaining weight, running around like a toddler, pulling toilet paper off, making a mess, normal, can go 11, 12 hours at night. You got to nip this in the bud now, because I want to tell you, I'm not here to scare you. A lot of you, the sleep dependencies and the issues will self-correct as they get older, 2, 3, 4. But by 1.5, 2 years old, most children who have not grown out of it, it just gets more entrenched as they get older. And I don't want to tell you this to scare you. I'm telling this because I want to help you. Because as a child gets older, their body learns to fight it more. And you're doing your children the biggest service in the world by teaching them how to sleep. They're going to be adults who know how to relax. They're going to be kids who are great sleepers, okay? So, Aubrey again. Your 6-month-old is exclusively breastfed, not sleeping through the night. He was sleeping 9 hours when he was 3 months old. Aubrey, he was sleeping 9 hours when he was 3 months old. You got to get back to that. Again, don't jump. But if you know he could do it at 3 months, my dear, he can do it now when he's a little bigger. Okay, I think we answered your question. About a month ago, you tried to be stern in a form of cry it out, where we went to soothe him after longer and longer periods. That sounds like a Ferber kind of method, checking, going in, going out. I don't like that. I'll tell you why. When you're in the room and out of the room, and sometimes they're crying and sometimes you're here and sometimes you're there, that just confuses them, Aubrey. It just gives them mixed messages. Wait a minute. Sometimes mommy comes to me when I'm crying. Sometimes mommy picks me up. Sometimes it's whatever you do, stick with it. If you're always patting them, always pat them. If you're always holding them, always hold them. If you're always rocking them, always rock them. Or if you're always not doing any of that and just sitting there talking to them, always do that. Because your child's only going to learn to sleep if you're consistently doing the same thing over. Otherwise, they get mixed messages, they get overstimulated, they get confused, and that's why it probably didn't work, Aubrey, okay? I feel we really weren't sticking to the plan well enough. There you go. That's why it wasn't working. And even if you did, though, I'm telling you, a lot of people call me who've tried checking systems and cried out, and it doesn't work because you have to mold something to your beliefs and what your child wants to do and what's natural for them, okay? 30 minutes before bed, he wakes up throughout the night. He doesn't associate nursing with sleep. He's been laying him down drowsy for naps. Just focus on bedtime and the nights, Aubrey. Once that's solid, we'll do a separate nap thread because naps are a lot more difficult to incorporate. And if you start doing this all day, all night, all everything, it's going to be a lot more difficult because your baby's going to cry all day. You're going to get burnt out and you're not going to get anywhere. Everything I'm telling you is just for day and for bedtime and nights. For naps, they're another story. Just try to uphold naps consistently as much as you can to make sure that your child isn't getting that overtired. Okay? Let's see. Jillian. My daughter is 12 months old. Uh-oh. Well, a picture of your kids just came up, Jillian, when I hit you. They're cute. Okay. My daughter's 12 months old. We co-slept the entire time, and she's nursed on demand throughout the night. I feel like she's nursing 3 to 5 times a night. We just set her up in a big girl bed, and I've been laying there with her. You put your 12-month-old in a big girl bed, and they go to my bed. All right. You might not like me for being honest here, but I'm going to tell you the truth, Jillian. I do not recommend putting a 12-month-old in a big girl bed. I do not recommend putting a 2-year-old in a big girl bed. I don't like moving kids and transitioning them from cribs to beds until they are at least 2.5, sometimes 3. Okay? I know people don't agree with me, but through my experience, that is what the best way is. If you're putting a 12-month-old is completely a baby, but let's even talk about a 1.5-year-old or a 2-year-old. You're putting them in a bed. They're not cognitively aware of their actions. They don't understand, okay, mommy said I have to stay put in my bed. They're just going to come out. You're going to put them back in. It's going to turn into a game of Jack in the Box. It's not necessarily safe because you don't want a child that age to have free roam of the house. But if you were co-sleeping and it could be that you just don't like cribs, a lot of people are anti-cribs, at least do some kind of bed that's safe that you know she can't fall out. She can't hurt herself. Oh, hi, Jillian. I'm talking about you now. Because I don't want to tell you some people are anti-cribs, and that's the reason. Jillian, since you're here, did you put your 12-month-old in a bed because you are against cribs and you don't want to use a crib? Or did you do it just because you felt like she's big enough and that's what works? Let me know, because I just started going on a whole rant, but maybe I don't need to. But if you are avidly against cribs and you just like to use the bed because that's what you feel is right, that's what you want to do, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but use it mindfully, set up a safe situation, and make sure that it works. But at the end of the day, pick the nursing times like we told everyone else. And you'll watch the replay, Jillian, of spacing it out slowly, slowly, slowly. But let me know, Jillian, how you feel about a crib. Let's see. Aaron and Leora. Oh my gosh, what's going on with this phone today? All right, let's read what you said. My 3.5-month-old, after I nurse her around 9, I swaddle her and put her in a bouncy seat, and she falls asleep on her own. Awesome. This is something new and exciting. Yes, it is. And you definitely are going to give you pats on the back here. Okay. That she actually falls asleep on her own because she definitely is used to being in the bouncy seat. How and when do I start putting her in a crib? She's rolling over. Okay, so this is a different question. We're going to talk about this on the newborn thread. But like I said, your baby's old enough so you can start working. The earlier, the better, right? It's all about preventative measure with newborns. So the earlier you can get her not used to the bouncy seat and the swaddle, the better. But we're going to talk about that more next week because that is a little bit of a separate topic. But I would tell you, watch the thread from a few weeks ago about bedtime battles. And then there was a separate one about night wakings. That's going to help you a lot. Oh, Jillian, she never slept in a crib. Okay, so listen, just watch what I said to you. But I really would recommend putting her in a crib if you could, or at least some type of safe situation of a bed to make sure that she can't come out so easily. And then, that's just an environmental setup, setting up that sleep environment for her, and then start using all the other ideas about spacing it out. My thought was if I co-sleep with her in her bed until she got used to it. So yeah, no. If it was an older child, I really am strongly recommending, Jillian, I'm never here to tell you what's right, what's wrong. It's all about what your personal preference is, but I would really recommend putting her in a crib, because what's going to end up happening is you're just going to end up co-sleeping in her bed instead of co-sleeping in your bed. When you leave, she's just going to come out and she's just going to have a free-for-all, and you're going to end up bringing her into your bed. You want to have her in a controlled sleeping environment that obviously, most importantly, you can make sure she's safe, but almost equally as important that she can get the sleep she needs, because if she's constantly in, constantly out, you're not going to be able to stick with anything, because after you've done it for the 5,000th time at 2 a.m., forget it, you're just going to sleep with her. She's not old enough to understand. Mommy said to stay put till morning, so I will. She's a baby, so I would like very strongly consider, if you could, putting her into a crib. Okay, Jolene, 10-month-old boy. We've been working on putting him to sleep in a crib with less and less of my help per other videos. Yes, awesome. Virtual high five, Jolene. Okay. I lay him down after the routine as I stand by the crib, and he falls asleep on his own. But when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he goes hysterical cry mode unless you nurse him. Turns into playtime. You can be up for hours. As soon as I nurse him back down, then he's up every 2 hours. I don't know what to do to eliminate this nursing. Okay, so Jolene, you are totally in an awesome place. You're getting a major backbone set up here and getting, him to fall asleep on his own, but do the same thing. I'm not sure if he's nursing once or, every 2 hours after that one time. He doesn't need to nurse every 2 hours. How old is he? 10 months. He doesn't need to nurse every 2 hours. A newborn baby home from the hospital doesn't always need to nurse every 2 hours. A day-old baby can usually go 2.5. So definitely try to use the same ideas, because if he's waking up every 2 hours, it could be that the habit has turned into hunger despite the fact that he knows how to sleep well. So pick the set time, slowly phase it out, get his body used to it. Starting to see some recurring themes here, okay? Okay, that's me. MJ. My question is similar to the others posted here. My daughter's nearly 10 months. We can start like a 10-month-old party here. I think there were a lot of 10-month-olds. Wakes up until 2-3 months ago, would nurse and could put her back down. Now, it takes you at least an hour of laying with her and sleeping with her. She wakes up an average of a half an hour to put her to sleep. You bed share. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Okay, my greatest struggle is she will only go to sleep and go back to sleep by nursing. I had to wait until at least a year to night wean her. But for naps and bedtime, the only way we can put her to sleep. Your husband's tried. It ends up a lot of tears. We don't do cry it out. She won't take a passy. How do I know if we've created a sleep association? Well, it sounds like you've created a sleep association. If she only sleeps in your bed, only falls asleep nursing, the second you try to get rid of it, the way to know it's a sleep association is if when you don't do it, they don't sleep. So she definitely has a sleep association. The question is how to gently wean her off of it, MJ. I can't practice unlatching her and sleep without nursing. I probably actually have 100 questions around these topics. Okay, yeah, this is a lot of different questions you're asking. Kind of everything going through here all together. But let's talk about the nursing part, because that's the part of this thread. But MJ, do go back and watch the bedtime battles and the night wake-ups again, because it's going to help you. But same thing. Your baby has become totally dependent on being in your bed. Totally dependent on nursing. And because of that, can't fall back asleep. And more importantly, has probably developed a real hunger all night. So, like I told everyone else, pick times you're comfortable with. Not every half an hour, not every hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. What I like to pick is something that's a little bit of a stretch, but nothing too uncomfortable. So if your baby wakes up every 2 hours, suddenly bumping to 5 is a major jump. If your baby wakes up every 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and a half hour, depends on how adventurous you want to feel. And do that and start spacing the feedings out. Now, I will tell you, MJ, if your baby's in your bed with you, just like I told someone else, she's pressed up against your body, it's a little difficult to say, sorry, honey, I'm not going to nurse you. It's a tease, and it's almost more cruel because you're so close yet so far, okay? So I don't know if you don't want to put her in a crib or if you are like avid gung-ho co-sleeper, that's fine, whatever your choice is. But if you're going to do it, don't have yourself pressed up against her. Maybe put her back to you, put your back to each other, something that's a little bit less of a tease. Or if you're thinking about moving her to a crib, now is the time. Or a bed. I don't know exactly how old she is. Did you say? 10 months old, not a bed. Crib. So either, whatever you do, just make sure that it's set up in a way where you're not teasing her and making the situation actually worse. Very important, okay? Mindy. My daughter is 14 months. I nurse her before she falls sleep. Then I do a dream feed. Oh, right, I was going to talk about dream feeds. If there's time, I will. Otherwise, we might just do a separate Q&A on them because there's so many questions about it. But she doesn't sleep through the night. She'll generally go back to sleep after you give her a cuddle. She wakes up 1 to 3 times between 1 and 6. Don't know if I should drop the 10:30 p.m. dream feed. I'm going to just tell you, I'm just going to answer your question about the dream feed because I don't know if I'm going to have time to talk about it. But I do not recommend doing a dream feed with a 14-month-old. You are basically waking her up when she's a girl. Yes, a lot of girls today. You're basically waking her up, Mindy, when she is in a deep sleep, disrupting her sleep, and doing the dream feed. I know you think it's tanking her up, making it better. It actually could completely disrupt her sleep cycle and cause her to wake up. So no, I wouldn't do the dream feed. Instead, I'd pick times that you're comfortable with. Anytime she wakes up before those times, do whatever means you want, rocking, holding, bouncing, cuddling, in your bed, out of your bed, her in her crib, you touching her, you not touching her, whatever you want to do. Anytime she wakes up after those times, it's fine, and slowly space them out. But I would drop the dream feed, Mindy. A 14-month-old, I do not like to see it, okay? And I'm going to try to talk about the dream feed, but like I said, we might just do a separate question thread on it because it's really important, but I want to make sure I don't ignore any of your questions. We just have a few left, and I only have a little bit more time. So, Mickey, when your 9-month-old wakes up in the middle of the night, I try to laying him back down and rubbing his back. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You end up picking him up and nursing him because you know he'll fall back asleep. He can go 7-8 hours during the day without nursing. How do you break him of this? You break him of this by being consistent, Mindy. Or what's your name? Sorry. Mickey. Mickey. All right? So you've basically taught your baby that you're sitting there, you're rubbing his back, but if he cries long enough or hard enough, you're going to give in and nurse him. He doesn't know what time it is. He doesn't know if he's been crying for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, or for 2 hours. He just knows that eventually you give in and pick him up. So stick with what you're doing with those times and don't budge. Don't budge from those times that you've picked because at the end of the day, if you do, it's only making it worse. You're just reinforcing his behavior. And I'm not here to be like a sleep drill sergeant. You know that I advocate gentle methods, and that's why all of you are here. I'm not telling you to lock the door and say, see you later, scream it out, figure it out. But you have to make a promise to yourself that you're going to stick with it, because if you give in, you're only confusing your child more. So pick those times and make sure you can move forward with it, okay? I got to switch my hands again to scroll down. April, almost 8-month-old, excuse me, not 8-month-old, has been a pretty good sleeper. For a week, it went downhill. You thought it was teething or growing pains. Go to sleep around 7:30. Diaper changed. After a week of fighting, goes to sleep. I'm just skimming through this. I try once in a while. I'll give her. Not on breast milk. Gets baby food. We haven't got to the consistent, but seems to bother her. Her naps keeps changing. Okay, this is a separate question also. But with you, April, I would say to go watch the nap fighting thread that we did a few weeks ago. We do always the question thread on Monday and the answer on Wednesday, like a live like we're doing today. Go in and watch the nap fighting one, the nap video from a few weeks ago. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll post it over here. But yeah, sounds like there's a lot of nap fighting going. If bedtime's inconsistent, you can't start. If you followed me long enough by now, you know how strongly I feel about the first step of getting a solid routine set up before you even move to any of this, because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for your baby to fight it. So April, really get those naps in gear and a consistent bedtime before even working on all of this, because otherwise it's going to be harder, and I don't think your baby will necessarily do what we want. Okay, Heather, when your son gets up, he wants a bottle. I think it's more for comfort. Okay, so you don't think it's hunger, you think it's habit. He doesn't take a passy. I've tried limiting it to 4 ounces instead of 6, but it seems like he wakes up. Okay, so he's 8.5 months old. So what am I telling you to do then, Heather? Don't minimize the amount. Keep the same amount. Space out the times. A little bit different, but it's going to help you a lot. Okay, so I actually don't have time to talk about the dream feed because I have a call that I'm working with someone right now at 11. But we will do, I'm going to have in a few weeks, we'll talk about a dream feed. I hope this was helpful. I love doing this with all of you. You're amazing. Now, I'm going to post this in a minute, and as soon as I'm done, I'm going to put the link because, like I said, you're all doing this contest now, and 3 lucky winners by the end of the week are going to win free 6 months access to my Rested Moms Club. Rested Moms Club, keep in mind, is my entire step-by-step system. I give you tidbits of it, and I try to help you, but it's start to finish for all of my ages, 0 to 5 months, 6 to 12 months, 1 to 2, toddlers, tons of experts going in there talking about parenting and picky eaters and temper tantrums and self-fulfillment and development. It's awesome, okay? 3 lucky winners are going to win 3 spots to that for 6 months. We have a Facebook group like this, except it's like much more exclusive because I'm in there frequently. And since you're following my system, I can tell you do this, do that, don't do that. So the top 3 people who have invited the most friends to this group are going to win. Now, in the link above, I have a sneak peek to my Rested Moms Club. I'm going to put the link right now. It's the interactive workbook that goes along with all my courses. I'm just putting one age bracket there. But if you look at it, you can really gain a lot of insight. A, what the Rested Moms Club is all about. And B, what my whole system is to move through it. So it's only live, this sneak peek, until midnight tonight. So check it out. And I'm really looking forward to it being awesome, seeing some of you there, and coming back on here again next Wednesday. Have an amazing day.